Guys, let's talk about Craig Mack. See, it's messed up enough that Craig Mack started Bad Boy and got them off the ground, but we all know that Diddy and his freak parties, that's what exposed Craig Mack and got him HIV.
So I stopped recording. I said, I'm not gonna be an idiot and sit here and do all this stuff for everybody, and I'm not gonna see anything from it. Next thing I know, money come, with this bullish mafia mentality with him and his goons and all.
Craig Mack, if he didn't change management, he wasn't fucking with him no more. You understand? And they had a real big beef.
When Netflix dropped its big 2025 documentary, fans instantly noticed something wild. Craig Mack barely got any shine at all. That alone set social media buzzing fast. And let's be real, Craig Mack wasn't just another name on the roster. He was the artist who helped launch the label into the spotlight with Flavor in Your Ear.
Congratulate Craig Mack on his Grammy nomination.
No question.
Yes, baby, yeah. Cool, that's cool.
A record that shook the whole scene. Grammy nomination? No question. That song didn't just chart, it cracked the door wide open and gave the label its first real wave of noise. So when the documentary glossed over his role, people weren't feeling it at all. His sudden exit, his impact, and what came next were barely touched, leaving longtime fans confused and heated. Online chatter popped off quick, with viewers asking what really went down during that chapter of his career.
His money for his music. So Puff said, yo, I ain't with that kid no more. Not at all. I was right there when he said that.
Craig Mack passed away in 2018 from reported heart failure, but that hasn't stopped people from talking. Some fans still debate what they believe was left out of public reports. None of these claims are confirmed, but it shows how deep the love still runs for his legacy and why people want the full picture. What many forget is that Craig Mack's beginnings were low-key but powerful. He grew up in Brentwood, Long Island, New York, a quiet place far removed from the industry chaos, making his rise even more unbelievable.
I thought he was kind of cool at first, and then we started seeing some things.
And Craig Mack went to his grave mad at Bad Boy.
There were no flashy studios, no industry suits, no shortcuts, just raw local talent and non-stop hunger driving Craig Mack forward. Everything he built came straight from grit and focus. From a young age, Mack was locked into rap heavy. He wasn't just listening, he was studying it. Rhythm, wordplay, storytelling, he treated hip-hop like a real craft, not a side hobby. That deep passion shaped his whole mindset and later helped define the sound of an entire era.
Craig Mack to wear suits and all this other stuff, and Craig Mack was trying to keep it gully. He was trying to keep it.
By the late 80s, Craig Mack was already grinding hard, performing anywhere he could and chasing a name for himself. In 1988, under the name MCEZ, he dropped his very first single, a record that showed clear flashes of confidence and skill, even if fame didn't hit right away. There were no big radio looks or major label calls yet, but Mack stayed on the move. Live shows, non-stop writing, sharpening his flow every chance he got. He was leveling up in real time.
In the back of the club, and I kicked a little freestyle rhyme for him and stuff like that. He was like, yo, this stuff is all that, you know what I'm saying? Why don't you kick a little something with Mary J? So we did like that, you know what I'm saying? The next thing you know, here I was.
Then came the early 90s, and everything shifted fast. One night outside a New York nightclub, Mack was freestyling in the street like he often did, keeping his energy high and connecting with people, according to multiple reports. And that moment would change his path completely. That's when a rising industry figure spotted Craig Mack performing and instantly felt his presence. His voice hit different, his confidence was loud, and that raw street moment reportedly cracked open the door to one of the biggest breaks of his life. Not long after, Craig Mack became one of the very first artists signed to what would soon grow into a major hip-hop label that helped define the entire 1990s sound. Back then, the label was brand new. No superstar roster, no proven formula, just hunger, vision, and bold ideas. Mack wasn't just filling a slot. He helped shape the label's direction from the ground up. His gritty delivery and natural charisma blended street energy with mainstream appeal, creating a sound that stood out fast and helped push hip-hop into a whole new era. In 1994, Craig Mack dropped Flavor in Your Ear, and things jumped off quick. Then came the remix, and that's when it went nuclear.
Got on that remix on Craig Mack's song, and he went first on Craig Mack's song. When he did that remix, then it started They started been looking up for him.
Featuring the notorious B.I.G., LL Cool J, and Busta Rhymes, the track pulled major talent from all corners of the culture. This wasn't just a hit, it was a full-on cultural moment. The remix didn't just climb charts, it announced that this label was ready to go head-to-head with the biggest names in the game. But as success grew, things started shifting fast. While Flavor in Your Ear stayed heavy in rotation, another rising artist from the same camp began pulling serious attention. As that new star's buzz shot through the roof, the label's focus reportedly followed the noise, chasing fresh demand and non-stop momentum. Craig Mack, the same artist who helped open the door and lock in the label's early credibility, quietly started seeing less spotlight. His momentum slowed, not from drama or scandal, but because the industry moves quick and attention doesn't wait. Still, his role in shaping that original sound was never up for debate. Craig Mack had already stamped his name in hip-hop history, and real fans never forgot that. His rise was fast, and the label reacted the way most companies do when they hit a breakout moment. Promotion, resources, and energy began pouring into what was becoming the biggest chapter in the label's story. At first, the shift was subtle, easy to overlook, but over time, it became clear the focus was leaning elsewhere. Mack, once front and center in building the label's identity, slowly drifted from the main spotlight, even though he was still signed and still making music. This wasn't an overnight switch. It happened piece by piece, step by step, as the game kept moving forward. As media attention shifted, priorities inside the label reportedly moved too, and Craig Mack's name wasn't being pushed with the same intensity anymore.
It said that Craig Mack, he was going to Death Row, right? How did Biggie and Puffy feel about that?
Craig Mack was going to sign to Death Row. He was going to be their first artist on Death Row East. He was coming in there with...
The energy had changed, and it showed. His next project, Operation Get Down, reflected that shift loud and clear. The album faced delays, and when it finally landed, the promo just wasn't there. No big rollout, limited press, low visibility, rough conditions in an industry where timing means everything. That slowdown hit hard. Fans who were ready for new music were left waiting with barely any updates. The buzz that once surrounded Mack slowly cooled as other artists started rising behind the scenes.
So I stopped recording. I said, I'm not gonna be an idiot and sit here and do all this stuff for everybody, and I'm not gonna see anything from it. Next thing I know, money come, with this bullish mafia mentality with him and his goons.
According to reports, Mack grew frustrated, feeling boxed in creatively and restricted by his contract. He believed the deal kept him from chasing new collaborations and outside opportunities. It was a major turning point. His early momentum was still rolling, but now he wasn't fully in control of the wheel. By 1996, Craig Mack made a bold move. He reportedly filed for bankruptcy, a decision many saw as strategic, a way to reset the board and regain control of his career. Some industry insiders believed it was a legal path to open new doors and create space for future projects. Around that same time, unconfirmed reports began circulating that Mack's former wife, Roxanne Alexis Hill Johnson, later spoke about that period, saying it wasn't just business stress, it hit him on a deep personal level too. She described that stretch of time as full of frustration and non-stop roadblocks that slowed Craig Mack's momentum big time. By then, he felt boxed in, caught between legal limits and creative walls. What once felt like an open highway had turned into a steep, uphill battle. And when the recent documentary dropped, many viewers noticed none of these struggles were mentioned at all. That left fans confused and asking why such a major part of his journey stayed in the dark. Later in life, Craig Mack shared a story that showed just how intense the pressure really was. He recalled being confronted by a music executive over unfinished material. A moment, he said, felt more like a demand than a real conversation. Mack described the situation as tense and uncomfortable, saying it made him question how much control he truly had over his own work. He refused to record under conditions he believed were unfair, and that only added more weight to an already stressful chapter. He never named names and didn't point fingers directly. Instead, he spoke openly about how heavy the behind-the-scenes pressure in the music business can get. By the early 2000s, Craig Mack made a life-changing decision. He walked away from the industry completely. Years later, in 2012, reports surfaced that he had joined a religious ministry in South Carolina, shocking fans who had no idea he'd stepped that far away from music. When he joined, the group described it as a spiritual rebirth, a clean break where his old life and music were left behind. Inside that community, it symbolized choosing faith and peace over the nonstop pressure of fame. Fans who remembered Craig Mack's rise in the 1990s couldn't help but wonder why he stepped away so completely. Many believed it was a mix of personal struggles, career frustration, and a deeper search for meaning. Whatever the reason, one thing was clear: he wanted out of the chaos. To friends and fellow artists, Mack wanted a life that felt calmer and more fulfilling. The move seemed sudden, even mysterious, but he looked at peace with it. He had found something he hadn't felt in years: peace of mind, direction, and control over his own path. Looking back, Craig Mack's transformation marked a serious turning point. His story shifted from a rising hip-hop star battling industry pressure to a man chasing renewal, faith, and clarity. Far from cameras, interviews, and non-stop noise, fame no longer mattered to him. He chose a quieter lane built on purpose and reflection. The spotlight that once followed him everywhere was left behind without regret. Craig Mack passed away on March 12, 2018, at just 47 years old while living in Walterboro, South Carolina. He was far removed from the fast music hubs of New York and Los Angeles, living a simple, private life. For fans, the news hit hard. A key figure from hip-hop's early 90s wave was gone. His early success helped lay the foundation for an entire era, and fellow artists often praised his sharp voice, bold confidence, and raw energy on Flavor in Your Ear. Even decades later, that track still hits as a classic. It stands as proof of the originality and creativity Craig Mack brought to the game. Though his later years stayed private, his influence never faded. After his passing, fans and industry voices revisited his journey, reflecting on how he walked away from fame to protect his peace. His quiet exit left many thinking hard about the real cost of pressure, contracts, and nonstop spotlight in the music world. According to official reports, Craig Mack's cause of death was heart failure, with no signs of foul play involved. Still, his sudden passing, after years away from public view, hit fans hard and sparked deep reflection far beyond just the music. People didn't just look back at his records. They thought about the hidden weight that often comes with success in the entertainment world. Craig Mack helped define a powerful moment in hip-hop history, then walked away from it all, taking huge pieces of his story with him. His passing left unanswered questions and served as a reminder that an artist's real journey usually runs way deeper than headlines ever show. Even after death, fans continue to talk about the pressure he faced, the tough choices he made, and how those moments shaped the final chapters of his life.
Craig started becoming disenchanted. You got nominated for a Grammy, but we had no...
Mack's quiet exit from the spotlight, combined with reported business and contract struggles, painted the picture of an artist navigating an industry where creative freedom wasn't always guaranteed. His legacy became bigger than music. It turned into a reflection of resilience and the real cost of chasing success. The pressure Craig Mack dealt with wasn't always visible to the public. Album decisions, contracts, and career moves came with real consequences, showing that success doesn't always equal control or security. His story pulled back the curtain on how fragile fame can be and how much fans never see happening behind the scenes. Many people noticed that major documentaries and retrospectives stayed locked on the hits and the rise of the label. Meanwhile, huge parts of Craig Mack's personal journey stayed pushed to the background. The struggles he faced, the frustrations he voiced, and the real reasons behind his step away from fame were rarely explored in detail. Craig Mack's life became more than just another chapter in hip-hop history. It turned into a sharp reminder of the unseen realities artists deal with behind the scenes. Even years after Flavor in Your Ear dominated the charts, his story shows how talent, determination, and faith can exist right alongside pressure, sacrifice, and silence. His legacy isn't just about success, it's about resilience and the truth that every artist's path has layers the public may never fully see. In a resurfaced interview, Craig Mack spoke openly about his frustrations with the music industry, not with anger, but with honesty and reflection. He talked about the pressure that came with fame, the stress of navigating contracts, and the constant balancing act between loyalty, creativity, and business. His words gave rare insight into how sudden success can weigh heavy on an artist trying to protect their vision. Around that same time, conversations about artist rights and publishing started popping back up across the industry, sparking renewed attention on Craig Mack's early contributions and why his role still matters today. While there's no verified record that Craig Mack ever regained full control of his catalog, fans still see these conversations as proof of how important his role was in shaping a major chapter of hip-hop history. Yet when modern documentaries revisit that era, so much of Mack's deeper story stays untold. His struggles, his retreat from music, and the personal choices behind it all. Craig Mack was never a background figure. He was one of the key artists who helped define an era long before the label's biggest stars took over the spotlight. His passing from heart failure closed one chapter, but his legacy keeps sparking real conversations because his story runs way deeper than just the music. It's easy to celebrate the label's later success, but the complicated parts, the pressure, the sacrifices, and the personal reflections often get skipped. Fans keep asking questions, not out of suspicion, but out of respect and curiosity. Why does such an important piece of hip-hop history still feel unexplored? Why were the moments that showed Mack's dedication and sacrifice left in the shadows? His journey wasn't just about one hit record, it was about the unseen side of fame, the struggle to stay true to yourself, and the real cost of building something groundbreaking. Craig Mack's story reminds us that behind every chart-topping song is a human story filled with resilience, balance, and hard truths. If you want more deep dives into hip-hop's untold stories and forgotten legends, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next, and I'll see you in the next one.